There's no end to the governance problems in various municipalities across the country. Here in the city of Joburg, Action SA is calling for the removal of Al Jama's Kabelo Gwamanda as mayor. There's been a specific focus on his educational qualifications as well as fraud allegations against him. While politicians slug it out, service delivery takes a backseat. How do communities start holding political players to account, though? For more on this now, we're joined by Mike Makwela. He is the Senior Program Coordinator at Plan Act South Africa. Mike, thank you so much for your time this evening and for coming in here on what's a very chilly Friday night here in Johannesburg. Now this, for me, we just spoke to Trevor Ngwame as well about the impact of load shedding on poorer communities. Year two is a ticking time bomb, in my personal opinion, of a low to almost no service delivery already being an issue. And you add to that the political roller coaster that has become council politics in metros like Johannesburg. And it leaves residents with even less. And your organization has done a very interesting survey looking into what the impact has been over a certain period of time within which we've seen the mayor being changed so often. What have been the main findings that you found in terms of what that impact has been?
Thank you, Marcel, for the invitation. Much appreciated. As you correctly said, I come from Plan Act. There are a few things that I want to raise. One is that quite alarming that within 20 months you have the fifth mayor in the city of Joburg.
Quite musical chairs.
Quite scaring, because what that means is that the center does not hold. There's a lot of people who feel very unsure about whether they should continue to working for this municipality. There's uncertainty about where the future is. So once there's uncertainty, you are most likely to see a situation where there's a deterioration of service delivery. As you correctly said, the Asivigelane index report that we produce every month indicates that within a period of 1 year, approximately 10% of service delivery issues have been raised by communities. 10% is quite a lot.
Year on year.
Absolutely. So it's quite scary that the communities who live in informal settlement feel that water is not being provided as it should. Waste is not being collected as it should. Sanitation is not of the standard that they require, and the list goes on. So that's quite worrisome and very, very troublesome, because once you reach a stage where communities feel that the municipality and the politicians that they voted in are not delivering on the things that they're supposed to, then you begin to have a very serious mistrust. And once there's mistrust, there's the consequences. We know
there's a restlessness that happens, and then we all know how that story normally unfolds.
Absolutely.
And the fact that your monthly survey, and the fact that it's monthly, is great, because you really can see those changes happening and read the moods in those areas, I'm sure, not just people answering questions or ticking boxes. We know that in the news, every couple of months, there is a hotspot in Alex or Diepsloot where service delivery has always been an issue. Now you add to the mix the chaos at council level, and if you don't know what happens in a municipality level, you won't know that if there's an impact on signing off powers or paperwork, that eventually has a knock-on effect on the delivery of services.
No, absolutely.
Tell us how that's trickling down.
No, absolutely, because we have to acknowledge that the Constitution and other pieces of legislation gives the mayor and the mayoral committee executive powers. Okay, so if those executive powers are not adhered to because of the constant change of leadership, it creates a problem. For example, the city of Joburg had to stop their IDP and the budget process precisely because there was a gap where we didn't have the mayor for some time. And then they are hoping to restart the process. And we've seen the news that the chain has to be returned back from the mayor. So that is quite worrisome. And so the question that one asks is that, what is it that the municipality is delivering? If the IDP process has been stalled, the budget has been stalled, precisely because there's a problem of leadership change. So it's quite worrisome. And we really need to be honest about it. It's not an issue of money. The grants are there. Informal...
The budgets are there.
The budgets are there. So it's all about leadership. It's all about whether the hands are on deck to deliver services that are should. So if the ecosystem is not functioning well, you are most likely to see a disintegration of what we call a developmental state. And once that happens, we know what the impact is: poor service delivery, and disgruntlement, unhappiness, and we know what then happens.
Do we need to start having a serious discussion about separating what happens in the political realm at municipal level from the administration of that municipality? Because with the continued chaos on the political side, you cannot have a situation where the trucks aren't going out because the mayor, we don't know who the mayor is, so we don't know who's going to sign off and say, okay, this bill has been paid for that trucking service, and the list goes on.
Oh.
Is it too out of the box to think that that's a change that we need?
What a wish. What a wish, if it was possible, would really separate the politics from the administration. What a wish. It happens probably in a perfect world, not in our country, not in the city of Joburg. The two are intertwined, and we know the reason why. And so that creates more problems, because when you change, if your term of office, for example, is linked to the term of office of a political head, if that political head goes, most likely you'll also go.
There's a whole chain reaction.
The whole chain reaction.
Well, the chain of the mayor.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's not mince our words.
So that is the challenge that we're and it creates uncertainty to the public officials who really genuinely want to do the work that they are employed for. I mean, I speak to the officials of the city most times, and there are those who say, I want to do my part. I want to make sure that I change the conditions of people who live in this desperate situation. But unfortunately, you can't separate the two. Yeah. The two are intertwined. So what needs to be done? Perhaps the citizens of Joburg have to stand up and say, no ways.
Yeah. Genoeg is genoeg.
Genoeg is genoeg. It's enough. We can't be having this chess board happening because it has a direct impact on our lives, and we are seeing it.
What are the members of your organization that goes out and does this service? And of course, you also have grassroots level workers who are out in the communities all the time. Outside of the official service that they're doing, what are they coming back to your offices and saying, this is the feeling that I'm getting from people. This community, the mood is not what it used to be. People are really struggling with the fact that, it's such a struggle for, let's say there's a single mom family that they speak to because they do work with your organization. There's a mood that's changing. The struggle is just too much to get water, or the power is an issue. And let's face it, with the cost of living crisis, putting food on the table is a growing struggle for so many communities. What are you hearing from your community workers?
You have actually summarized it correctly, because high unemployment, poverty, inequality, show what you're going to have tonight for supper. On top of that, there's a change of leadership that you were hoping that it will alleviate your challenges because they'll provide services. So what we are picking up from our field workers and community facilitators is that the mood is not okay. The mood is not okay, and it's quite worrisome. People are quite upset, uncomfortable with this situation. People are feeling like we have been left alone. We're on our own. We are on our own. We've been given a dummy. When you give a child a dummy.
A pacifier.
Exactly. We had hoped for the best. Unfortunately, that is not coming through. The good things that have been promised are not happening. But look, there's hope. You can't just abandon everything. There is hope.
Do people feel that there are still ways for them to have agency? The political structures that are there for them to go to their councillor, this is what's happened, our power didn't come on after the last load shedding, or this tap is still not running, we've reported it so many times, please can you take it up for us? That is your job as a councillor. Do you get the feeling that people understand that that is the route that they can take, or have they even given up on that as well?
A community agency is important, building the communities to be able to take on the issue of accountability, because people have voted. You have actually given somebody your power on your behalf to execute certain activities. So if that person disappoints you, what do? You mobilize, you organize, and you begin to confront this system that doesn't want to move. There are instances where people feel like, I've given up. You know, I've been calling this hotline that says if there's a problem with water.
This is your reference number.
This is a reference number, and you hold and hold and hold. You actually don't even know. And this is the most difficult part, and very sad, is that even if the tap has been fixed, you never get an acknowledgement to say, you have called and we have fixed that tap. Well done. No, you know, so it's back to square one. Life continues. There could be a better way of engaging. The city could engage better with the citizens.
Communication lines.
No, communication is very important. And people are not difficult. They understand the constraints of the city. But you have to meet them halfway. If you don't, they mobilize. They get to the street, you know, and it doesn't look good. So there's a better way of engaging. The two entities can engage much better. But what we're picking up is that it's not well.
Yeah.
All is not well.
Okay, Mike Makwela from the organization Plan Act, thank you so much for your time and for the work that your organization continues to do. If you go online, just Google Plan Act and you can find out more about what they do, as well as their Asivikelane Service Delivery Index that they do on a monthly basis. Some fascinating reading there. So we thank him for his time this evening.